Are we on? Oh my God. We've started.
Us.
Hey guys. Yes. Us.
Big
Yeah, the
us,
Tokyo
everyone.
Show.
Yeah, here we
Yeah,
are. Here we are, the Tokyo Show. Nichols Pettas. No. Hey, everyone, a very, very special guest. We've had a nice little chat here with Sensei Nichols. But everyone, please welcome the Tokyo Show, Nichols Pettas. Sensei, how are you? Thank you for your time.
The Tokyo accepts your offer to be on the show very gracefully. It's going to be awesome, man. It's gone hilarious because I'll tell you what, man, this Tokyo Show,
Yeah.
it started off as wanting to be like a YouTube channel where I really wanted to get out there and do a whole bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then the quarantine hit us, right? And we're like, okay, we're on lockdown. This ain't no Tokyo Show anymore. This is me cooking food in my house and, doing home workouts in my basement and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Hey, it's been pretty cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, just quickly on that, your fight analysis when you fought Glober and you put the other one up today. I'm sitting there, man. We watch, a lot of us watch all your stuff, and now you're actually talking about it, and I'm there like, oh shit, and doing all this while you're talking.
Yeah. Oh man, it's awesome because every time I put on a fight, it's like, and I do them just one take, like completely raw, because I don't want to. I don't want to spoil it, and I don't want to like act it out or anything. I just want it to be what it is I feel in that moment. And I could probably do the same Fate Toza fight again right now, and it would be a completely different commentary. Yeah. I'm just having fun with it, honestly. It's just going back and revisiting and well, like the reason for getting into this these fight stuff and all this stuff is also because during quarantine, I realized that I had a lot of time. And I really, really wanted to learn how to edit for YouTube. I wanted to learn how to film and like come up with stories that really work on as content on YouTube and everything. And when you look at your life and you say, well, what can I do? Because originally it was going to be me doing a burger show. Like, a Tokyo burger show. Because, man, there are some incredible burgers here in Japan. Yeah. And people don't know about this. Yeah. And so the Olympics were coming, right? My timing was a bit off, to be honest, because I wanted to start earlier, build more, fan base and like go out and like experience more things and stuff. But, with the Olympics being postponed, it's perfect timing for me. Yeah. Now I have a whole year to go out and like create a lot of content. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Very cool.
So it's now more going towards just being a Nichols Pettas blog kind of.
Yeah. No, and I did the stretching the other week. It was perfect. It's gold.
Oh,
it's
cool.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's great. But let's get really, 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 really into it.
Nice.
This beautiful book. This beautiful book. And I was very fortunate when you sent it that you gave me a little signature. So thank you for that. And then you've got yours. So for those that have got this one, that was Sensei's first edition, and the one that you've just held up there is your second edition. And
yeah, this is the second edition.
Yeah.
It's a way cooler picture. I thought that's kind of what it is.
So
honestly, there's nothing really changed in the book. It's just the picture.
Yeah. But you are you are I guess here to talk about the book more so and other things. But the title, the 1,000 days in the Young Lions Dormitory, and I'm really going to deep dive into this side of it because you have this audio book that you're going to as such audio, like you gestured. It was more of I need to talk about it in your own way to give it its absolute substance. Hey.
Yeah. So. Yeah, going back to the Tokyo show, right? So this is what it started off as. What kind of content can I get on the show that I can do in my house? And so I have the book, and a lot of people want to read it, but I don't sell it anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it used to be on all the sales channels out there in the world. And I stopped selling it about, 10 years ago. And now if someone emails me and say, hey, do you have a copy? And if I have some copies, I'll send them a copy if they, do some donations to the PayPal account. But I mean, no big deal. I'm not trying to sell the book, to be honest. I think the story is too golden to be made for money and also for me, then I sat there and I thought about it and said, hey, this book, what if I just read it up to people like an audiobook, and then like I went into the first chapter and I think on the first page or second page, I went completely off script. Completely off script. And I just started talking about like reliving those moments and stuff like that. And so now I'm up to chapter 13 in the book, which is around the one-third part of the book is now already shot. Yeah. And I'm going to shoot the whole book over the next whatever it takes me, and then Then I'm going to go back in and edit the beginning and the end only. And then it's going to be completely raw, like I do with the other things. That's what I want it to be.
Yeah. And and that'll be on the Tokyo Show YouTube channel that you have. Yeah. You'll be putting it there, or are you putting it on the platform? What are you doing?
No, it's going up on YouTube. I'm going to probably make like a celebratory, whatever you want to call it, like a tribute to Sosai and everything.
Unreal.
As in like maybe like a month, 1 month, where you get one chapter a day, and then people can either tag along on that one, or they can go in and out and listen whenever they want, But it's going to be one playlist with the whole book on it, and it's going to probably be about, I'd say about 10 hours at least, like for real, because I go off script a lot. And it's I mean honestly, I'm super excited about it. It's like me going back and reliving those days and all those feelings. Right now in the book, for example, I'm on the summer camp for the first time, and this is in 1991. So the Japanese world championships team is there, and they're doing like specific training with Sosai on the beach right beside me as a yellow belt. And man, it was like crazy watching those guys training there. I was so jealous. I just wanted to run over there and be part of that team.
Yeah, that would have been cool. So I've got something to start off a bit here with the book that fascinated me, and it was I've just got some quick notes here. The letter of acceptance. So pre this, you've got the hey, I got to get there. I'm loving what I want to do. There's an opportunity. There's funds that I need to raise. There's visa issues. But then the letter, and the letter comes through, and you put a picture of the letter in there, and you just like, it is like Santa Claus or, a guide writing to you going, you're in, let's play.
Yeah. That day, man. I'm going to look for that now.
Yeah.
Man, that day we were going to go on a summer camp in Denmark, and Sensei Michael Thompson was the invited guest to come over.
Yeah.
And so we're all getting ready, bring in stuff. There it is.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
So
look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that guy. Yeah, cool.
And it's like, it really is like getting this letter from a living God saying, and I was like, I took it like this, and I ran up into the black belt's room, and I put it on the desk, and I was like, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
I don't want to open it. I can't open it. And then I got this paper knife. I was looking for this special paper knife, anything that it wouldn't, tear it apart or anything. And I kind of slid it up, and then I took it out real slow and opened it up. And then I was like, yep, you can come next year in April. And I'm like, yes! And man, that summer camp, it was just magical, because we spent like almost a week on a summer camp in Denmark. And every day was like, I was so excited to learn. And Michael Thompson was such an inspiring teacher. It was like, it was so inspired. It was amazing.
That's cool. And then, in sharing with us, there was monetary sides to it, your community and your dojos, and you're 17, 18, trying to figure out, how do I get visas? Am I, a 3-year commitment? And this is the part of the conversation that I love in the opportunity with you is, such a vision, such a, visualization as such towards what you wanted.
Yeah. Okay. So there are just a couple of things that I have to make clear before we finish this conversation. There was absolutely no information to be found about what an Uchi Deschi is on the internet, because there was no internet. So the only information I had was my senpai, and I put this conversation in the book. He goes literally like this: hey, Nick, you're always training at the dojo like those Uchi Deschis over in Tokyo. And I'm like, excuse me? What's the Uchi? What did you just call me? And he goes, nah, man, they're called Uchi Deshi. Sosai teaches these kids, karate for 3 years, man. And you know what? There's no foreigner who's ever completed this program. And I went, no. No, wait. You're telling me that old dude on the black and white photos over there on the wall, that he's still alive and he's teaching in Tokyo? Oh, Sosai, may you rest in peace. I swear I never should have said it like that, but that's really this little kind of cocky little kid that I was. And I was like, I knew I had to go. And I was like, there was no doubt in my mind. I wanted to be that foreigner, to be the first to finish this program. And I just made up my mind like that. Zero remorse, or zero, like, what do you call it? Hesitation. It's like, I'm going to be that kid.
Yeah. And
I'm not
wow.
sure if people understand what kind of like willpower that takes, because I don't understand it.
Well, that's the bit, right? That's exactly what I was trying to, tap into there. Like, we do a bit of you work hard, you go, potentially you get accepted into university, and that's a highlight as an 18-year-old here in Australia and around the world. Here you are going to another country and all the above that comes with it, and no knowledge. Here you know what course you're going to do. You don't know what's going to happen day one, let alone day 1,000. And that's the concept that I wanted to bring into today's chat and go, what the yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, so all right, you gotta understand something. So when I was a 14-year-old kid, I ran this couple of friends, like one good friend that was a little bit older than me, and he got me into a lot of trouble. Not bad trouble, like not fighting or anything or stealing or anything. It's just like kids having fun, getting drunk and going to parties and stuff like that. And so I started drinking at 14, which I think is fairly young, but in Denmark, it's actually completely normal.
Sure.
Out of probably in Australia too, I don't know. But so we were getting wasted pretty much every weekend if we could. If his parents were out of the city, we'd go get some whatever, gin and mix it with some surf or coke or whatever we could get. And we didn't have a lot of money, so it was like doing paper routes and stuff like that. I started off as a short little fat kid in life, fairly good at riding a BMX, but completely useless at ball sports. So I was not an athletic kid, but I was good at bicycles because I liked that, and I did it a lot. We used to, ride dirt bikes and just run all over the place. And then, so I wasn't athletic, and I was still short. I was very low. I was short and little kid, but kind of stocky build, kind of like I am now, but a little bit more fat, basically. So I got teased a lot when I was a kid, and then so when I had this moment of which I often refer to as the point of no return, was when I was on my way completely wasted home from one of these parties that we used to go to, me and my friend. And I went outside, and this one kid decided that he was going to soccer ball kick my head as I was about to, open the key on my bicycle. So he soccer ball kicked me in the head, and then he started punching the crap out of me. And I didn't know that you could completely revert into an animal, and this because there's a flight or an attack like concept in animals, but it also exists in humans. And I friggin' ran for my life. Like I didn't look left or right to see if any cars were coming, but I just literally bolted as fast as I could across the street and just like jumped into someone's garden. I was hiding in there, and I was super scared as a little kid lying in there. My heart, man, was up here in my throat, and it was pumping so hard, and I'm like going, and I have never been so afraid in my life ever. And as I was lying there and just hoping that he wouldn't come and beat the crap out of me again, I realized that I needed to do karate. Wow. And it's not a coincidence. It's because I had seen the movie The Karate Kid, and it had made a deep impact on me as a teenager. And I was like, if there's this completely useless kid that can become the karate champion by being taught by this, Miyagi Sensei, it's a beautiful story. It's so beautiful. So when I heard Sosai was alive, it's like, this is it, man. This is it. This is my dream. I can be that kid, but in real life. That's really the only motivation. For me, it was like, Sosai is alive, and he will teach me for 3 years. That's it. I'm done, man. I quit school. I went in and quit school that summer. And I started working in my dojo you mentioned the financial issues. And this is actually a really big problem because my branch chief at the time didn't know that we had to pay 35,000 yen to pay for living expenses there. And so when I said, okay, to work in the dojo as a kind of Uchi Deschi in Denmark, I made these calculations. Yeah, if I have, about, maybe $500 a month, I could probably, feed myself and have enough money to have. So I made this calculation for 3 years. If I had between $300 and $500 a month, I could probably survive. And by the time I got to going to Japan, like it was like 2 weeks before, I'd already gotten my visa and everything was set. The flights were already bought. My branch chief comes and just gives me this little note and says, "Here, man, you got to pay all this money to be an Uchi Deshi now." And I was like, and he said, "You should wait another year." And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm going now. Yeah. And then And then I went back to my mom and I said, "Look, there's a problem." Because my mom was kept pushing me, like, ask if it's cost money, ask if it costs money, because she wanted to know. And I felt devastated. And what my mom did, man, I love her, man. I love my mom. She just she sat down, she looked at the numbers and she goes, "Well, This is about how much it cost me to feed you here now. So if I just keep sending you money over there, I can feed you over there too. So, okay, I'm in, you know. So I was like, Mom,
man,
you're the best.
man,
Yeah.
how good's that? Good on you, Mum. That's how we say, oh, what a legend. That's great. And
Yeah.
so we you know, we get the great news, and I guess, you know, again, in people getting a chance to read the book and so forth, you got to deep dive into it. But one of Nicholas's main visions here was, you know, to in the book you titled, you know, The Soul and Heart of Japan. You wanted to share with everyone more so your story. Obviously it's about you and the soul and heart of Japan, and also the main reason, and that was to train with Sosai Mas Oyama.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, well, so not to cross-reference between, you know, I'm gonna give a shout out to Scott Heaney again here, because we
Of
did
course.
the Martial Way talk show recently, and if you want to
Course.
hear more about the first time
Yeah.
that I meet Sosai in person,
Oh, yes,
you
yes,
could
yes.
listen to that story
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But it's also in the audio book, and it's also in the book as a written story. But when I animate it, it gets really good.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
yeah. It's
yeah.
it's spine tingling. We say it here. You know, you get goosebumps going. And when you posted it, obviously, it was, I shared it to go, oh, you want something, you know, to feel what's going on. But yeah, you did a very good job. Very good job.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. Well, for me, I mean, obviously all these demographics of what's it going to be like when you become an Uchideshi, because I really didn't have any information. Although my branch chief, Umberto Boots, he had stayed at Hombu for like, I think 16 months or at least a year and a half and trained there.
Wow.
So he'd seen what the Uchideshis were doing and stuff. He could have told me more, but he didn't. He's like, yeah, you know, they clean and they get up and they work out. So that's about it, you know. Okay. But so when I went to when I first arrived at Hombu, it was there was this big rift between the foreigners and the Japanese, and I think it's really important to get into not so much details maybe right now, but more to quickly point out that the rift was not because they are racist. No. This is something I want to make very clear. The Japanese are sometimes they act as if they're racist, or if they're trying to push some different agenda sometimes. and sometimes obviously there are bad people all over the world, but generally speaking, the Japanese are just shy. And that means that by being shy, they overcome their shyness by doing things that can be sometimes completely misunderstood by people who don't speak the language.
Of course.
And I truly believe, and this is also something that I recently just posted on Facebook. Actually, it was like if you clicked on this photo, you got to post a photo of yourself as a baby. And so it was this thing that went around. And so I clicked on someone's baby photo because it was cute. And I was like, oh, shit, now I got to post my baby photo. And I just happened to have this amazing, not just me as a baby, but like a family photo where I'm a baby and in my father's arms like this. And we're in Japan.
Yes.
So I was living in Kyoto when I was a baby. Oh, cool. for the first 6. I commonly or generally think that I actually, because I was fed Japanese baby milk, that I have some of the spirit from a baby.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
But so it's like, you know, Martinez Hingis, when her mom, just like the first toy she gave her was a tennis ball. It's like, just keep playing with this ball because you love it. And then eventually she's a world champion. I think there's definitely something that opens up for senses. And if I was playing on the tatami when I was a baby, I was crawling around on the tatami mats. Right? When I came to Japan, the tatami mats didn't feel uncomfortable. You know, maybe things like that. You know, life is always connected in many ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, so coming to Japan and starting off as an Uchideshi, right? You know, they bring you into the big room and they point you and say, this is going to be your little corner of the world for the next 2 years, 3 years, you know? And then, you know, all these rules. And if you want to hear all about that story, go in and either read the book or just wait for the audiobook, because I go into grave details of all these things and it's amazing. But all that hardship, and this is what it comes down to, all that hardship, and I guarantee you Judd will say the same thing, whatever he had to do or not do, or whatever they forced him to do, and like that whole lifestyle was acceptable because every morning at 9:30 Sosai would show up and he would talk to us. And 4 times a week on Thursdays there was a specific class for just the Uchideshi. He would teach this class, and on Fridays there was a black belt class that he would come and teach. On Saturdays, there was a class for anyone that could come from all over the world and just join Hombu as a free class to train with Sosai. This class had 50 people in it every week.
Wow.
And then on Sundays, there was another class from 3:30 with Sosai, which was a black and brown belt class again. So it's 4 days in a row, 4 days in a row that you had a specific class training with Sosai. And we used to go to his house and protect him like on, rotation shifts and stuff like that. And for us, he was a living God.
Of course.
For real. Like we were not allowed to step on his shadow, for example. He was not allowed to open a door himself. He was not allowed to pick up the phone by himself. Anything that we could do to make his life easier. In the bath, for example, he says we had to cover our private parts with a towel and then and wash his back. But this is all traditional Japanese style. It's just the way it is. But yeah, I went a little bit off topic there again, but because he was there, it was amazing. And anything, also all these beginning where there was this big rift between the foreigners and the Japanese, it felt very racist. It felt very offensive because like the first time I sparred with the Razorback, for example, he broke my rib and he was stomping me on the face, and I'm like, hey, that's just me going back to that little kid, that point of no return when I bolted and ran. And I was like, I'm going to be very graphic here and say, fuck that.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
But I'm lying on the floor and I can't breathe, right? Because I got a broken rib. And he's still trying to stomp me on the head, Yeah. But I never said I give up. I didn't say I give up. He's not going to get that satisfaction.
Yeah.
And it just made me bitter,
Yeah. And then you segued it into, straight into it. Hey, you get there and you're just straight into this lifestyle and you're following orders and the Kohai system of, respect the seniors, obey the seniors, and do as you're told as such. And you're just head down, bum up, aren't you? And you just, bit down and just went straight into it. As we say, he balls and all, you just went everything in. And with that, I like this bit. You went in at about 68, correct my number, 68 kgs, just under 70 kilograms.
Well, when I arrived into Japan, I think I was 72.
Okay.
And then I think about 2 weeks into it, I was down to 67 because the food and just the training and just the lifestyle was so completely different. So I would say I started around 70, and that's kind of like normal. Well, that's what I did.
Yeah. And for those that aren't aware, so Sensei had, you were first Q as such in Denmark, but then you come into the program and you wear the white belt. You're just fresh. You obeyed those rules, and Sensei said you can read the book on that. But with that, so you've got some talent, you've got some good years of experience, and you're showing up and showing some of the others what it's all about as well. You just know young buck, and with that, when you were training, the bit that I wanted to know, and the stories that we hear from our shians and those that have done some Uchi Deschi training from overseas, especially in Australia, is one training could be Maegeris. One training could be, make yages. One, for 1 hour. And that's the part I wanted to deep dive for everyone to appreciate, because the training that most of us do in our dojos here and around the world, we're hearing, we hear this, but then it's like, and someone that was obviously there, could you share with us like the part where you were like, I'm sorry, what are we doing? Maegeris for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or whatever it was? What was that part of it that made you kind of go, oh, wow, this is happening. This is happening.
Well, okay. Too many stories to go over that. So this is the thing. What's cool about Sosai's training with the Uchi Deschis alone, and this is really where those kind of sessions went on a lot. Sometimes depending on who was running in charge of the class, the Kihon in the general class is always the same. It's a 45-minute thing.
Yes.
The classes generally were 2 hours long. So, you do like a 5-10 minute stretch and then like 35 minutes of basics, right? Do the whole basic system. And then it's Ido Geiko for like 45 minutes to an hour. So you have like 45 minutes to an hour where you're moving basics. Mm-hmm. Now, half of that, almost guaranteed every day, would just be kicking. Like just back and forth. And that's just the general class. It's not like this any specific class. So you're doing at least 25 to 30 minutes of Maikiages, Soto Mawashi, Uchi Mawashi, double Maikiages, triple Maikiages, more double, you do Soto Washi, Uchi Mawashi, and Maikiage. You're like combinations of all this endlessly, Ichi-ni-san, Mate, Ichi-ni-san, forever, right? Yeah. And because they start at the front with the highest senpai, he starts counting, the whole line counts, and then it goes to the second line, and then the second line counts back and forth. And then if there wasn't enough ki, that whoever was running class, like, hey, what guy? I was like, do it again, and then so you want to kick harder, you want to kick higher, you want to make sure that we don't do another round of it. So
Yeah.
you end up giving everything you can in every kick you can. And then in Sosai's class, there was no warm up as in the general class. It was only an hour and a half, right, from 1 o'clock to 2:30, and then it was a really short like stretch. Like we'd already stretched before he came down, so he knew we were ready anyway. And then it's like 50 punches, 50 maashigeris, and then line up, and then it's just Mike Yagas for the next hour. And this is acceptable if you're in a air conditioned kind of cool, dojo and stuff like that. But try and do that in the middle of the summer. It is like 45 degrees easily outside because it's in the middle of the day. The sun is hitting down hard on the dojo. Even with the windows open, it's so humid that like 10 minutes into the class, your dogi talk is completely soaked with your sweat. And then it's just keep going. But we wanted to kick.
Yeah.
You have no idea. Yeah. We wanted to kick. We wanted to be the guy that Sosai would call out, and he would stop the class very often and go, "Uy, Da Costa." He used to call me Da Costa. There was this British fighter it's hilarious. Yeah. Nichols Da Costa, right? So he kind of skipped the Nichols but went to Da Costa, and he called me that for the first 6 months. It was hilarious. And then so he goes, "Oh, Da Costa, come out here," because he probably knew I was a brown belt back home, but obviously I was a white belt there, but I was definitely not a white belt. I was Shodan material as a technician already at that point.
Yeah.
And so I had really like flexible legs, and by doing all those kicks anyway, they just got better and better. And someone like Judd and me, and also Nathan back then, and even Mokaramo, even in Sosai's class, all 4 or 5 of us in the same class, man, it's like competition to get the one to be called out first.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter how long those sessions went on for. It's almost like, how you like Sosai goes back and starts doing his supersets with his little weights and stuff,
cool.
while we're still kicking, and so he's just bodybuilding in the back there while we're doing my case, but we're all like kind of sussing out how high each of the ones are kicking, who's doing the best ki and stuff like that. It was like, 18 years old, man. You can do anything you want.
How did you recover? And I say this in a very more student way. The recovery of training. We go to Judd's camp, for example. Bang, 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 bang. Next day, everyone's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, come on, we got to keep going. This is nothing. This is only day one, But for what I'm sharing is, someone like yourself going straight into it, 7 days, 6 days a week, straight 3 sessions, all the above that are happening, make yagis up and down, the recovery side, mentally, physically, and spiritually as well. How were you rolling with it? Were you following your kohai? Were you getting, obviously you shared that you got some tips from Judd, but you internally, how were you like, man, I remember you got an injury. You were like, shit, this injury is hurting, How did that all come about? How did that go for you?
I think I was probably one of the most unlucky little kids in the first year as an Uchi. I broke 3 bones that first year. Within the first week, I broke a toe. Then I healed pretty fast actually, right? And then like 1 month after the first toe I broke another toe. And then so I was like kind of out of the dojo for the first 2 months. All I could do was get up early in the morning and do like self-training down in the basement, which they allowed me to do. And that was really it. And then once in a while, I think they allowed me to touch the barbells a little bit if there was no black belts around, just because there was nothing else for me to do. And then I had a broken toe for 3 months of training, which was completely lost on me. And I was really, really bitter during that time because I couldn't train. I couldn't prove myself. I couldn't do anything. So I stretched a lot basically. But generally speaking, I got really, really flexible.
That's good.
I used to lie down and with my feet up against the wall in the splits and just like read books like this, So my splits got super flexible.
You've answered one of the things I wanted to bring up, your flexibility as such. So you've kind of gestured it then. Yeah. When with your injury, you just focused and just kept going with that. Yeah.
Well, you do what you can, I guess. I mean, I did a lot of push-ups during that time, like just stupid amount of push-ups, like just push-ups after push-ups after push-ups.
For those that aren't aware, and you shared it the other day, 250 every morning, 5 sets of 50, 250, huh? No,
that was the standard. Yeah, my morning training was run 3.5 kilometers, come back 10 minutes jump rope, then you go 1 set of 50 push-ups and 1 set of 50 squats, and it's 5 sets each, and then we go in and we do about 200 or 300 sit-ups, and then spend some time standing on our heads to build the neck, and that was standard 7 days a week.
Sosai would say, in some of the video footage that gets translated, he would talk about if you can't knock someone down with your fist, That's your problem. That's you. Your fist is weak. You're weak. You haven't trained your fist enough. Where were some of those analogies and concepts when you were training that, because you wouldn't understand the language to begin with, but then you're fantastic, obviously, in how you got to that. But so what were some of the things that made you kind of go, because I can't wait to talk about your legs and how well you trained your legs and how you did your footwork and how you did those amazing guidons on everyone around the world. So, but from hands and push-ups, for everyone that's listening, when we go 50 push-ups, and fucking hell, here we go again, and I do that. Let's get on the wood as well. How are you with all that?
Yeah, I'm. So I don't know if it's OCD is the right word to use here, but it's like I'm a bit anal when it comes to cheating.
Yeah.
On reps, like I.
Oh, look at your face.
Yeah, I really don't like it. So anyone can do 50 push-ups if they're, and I will call them bullshit push-ups, right? These like when you do this stuff. So all the other uchideshis, and this happened every morning, man. They're like, "Hey, Shari, hey, Shari." This is what they're doing, right? They're just screaming, like to make it look like they're really fighting. But for me, man, a push-up is when you have a chest all the way down and then you're pushing all the way up, right? So I want full extension. So, and I'll be honest, man, when I say we did 5 sets of 50 every day, I probably only got like maybe between 25 and 38 push-ups every day on each of those sets. Like I got stronger, but it was never the complete full 50, 250 reps. I don't think I've ever done that because they have to be good push-ups for me. Yeah. Right? It's just, and it's everything I do. It's like, it started back in Denmark, when I was in Denmark being like a kind of an uchideshi. I had this park that I'd run around because I didn't know what I was training for. I didn't know what to expect to get there. So I kind of made up my own training routine in the morning. And part of that would be run this 5K run in a park. And I was always timing myself to make sure that I wasn't running slower than the day before.
Okay.
And then, when you're out there running, if no one's watching, that little tree that you can either run on the outside or you can go on the inside if you wanted to. Yeah. I never went on the inside. Never, ever. It's always, I had to force myself to take the long way. And it's just something that engraved in me. Like when I get my head set on something, it has to be done right. Like for example, with the kicking and everything like that. But Judd's the same, man. He's completely insane about that too. In that sense, because he was a senpai, he was much stronger than me in the beginning. It was amazing to see and look up to someone and have someone to train with and inspire to be and also learn a lot from. So. And I will say this as many times as I need to, but without him, I would not be where I am eventually. So I really also always thank him for that. But he was hard on me, like hard in a no mercy kind of way hard. But yeah, it makes you train harder. It makes you fight harder.
What were some of the things that Sosai would say to you, not to everyone, but more so to you in respect of, you're starting to become you work towards your showdown, which we can get to, but what were some of the things that you took on board that you went, oh, okay, well, how all our senseis and shians say, Pat, work on this, work on that. What were some of the things that he said to you that you were like, okay, I'll get to it?
This is probably something people will find very, not strange, but it is, I find it very odd because Sosai never taught us anything. As in, when I say anything, I don't mean anything. It's like, look, I'd already done karate for 3 years, and I was like probably one of the best technicians in the dojo back in Denmark before I went to Japan. So there was nothing like magical that suddenly I can be taught at this point. Yeah. And so Sosai never went into details and teaching us specific details on fighting, or it was never like, oh, let's work on our footwork today, or let's work on this combination with some pads or anything. He only taught. He didn't even teach. He taught always like make sure that you have a tight belly button, and that when you're punching, you could really like move your whole body as one, so that when that fist strikes, right, that it's not your hand hitting, but it's everything that's hitting, right. This is about the only thing that I can remember him specifically always teaching this thing. Everything else was just running by the book. And so either he was counting yelling out what we're going to do, and then everyone counted the repetitions, or it's like, today we're going to do Pinan Sono Go Ura. We spent, I think, almost 6 months on Pinan Sono Go Ura every week in 3 classes. Uchideshi class, black belt class, and then black belt class again on Sunday. I think for 6 months, we did that kata for like half an hour every time.
Wow. Was there a reason, or was it just happy days? Just, that's what it was. Yeah. Yeah. Just do
Do
as
you question it?
Yeah. Oh,
Do you
no,
question
no.
it if Sosai said it? No, but I'm serious. Like I didn't question. We didn't question it. Okay.
Of course.
And the truth is, if I also write this in a book at one point. I said, I don't believe that it's so specifically what kind of training that always makes you better. I just believe that if you truly believe that whatever it is you're doing right now is going to make you better, you will get better.
Yeah.
Because you truly believe it, right? The point is, like, with Sosai, there was no doubt. We thought we were getting stronger just by breathing the same air as him in the same dojo.
Of course.
And so we could do Maikiages all day long. And sure, it builds your legs, it builds your flexibility, it builds your confidence in kicking and everything. And it probably did something. But honestly, I'm sure that there are way better ways to train smarter to become better. But this was old school.
Yep.
This was as old school as it gets. And it's just like, if people start questioning the methods, well, then you don't belong there. Yeah, exactly. So we never questioned. Of course, I mean, well, amongst us, Uchi Deschi, of course, we used to make a lot of fun at some of the coaches that, that ran classes. There was one guy, Minami Senpai, and it's this little guy, man. He had the worst technique ever, but he loves karate so much. It's just unbelievable, his dedication to karate. And then he ran the same class every day at 10 o'clock at Hombu Dojo for like all the years that I was there. He never changed anything in it. Never. Like, it was always the same.
Wow.
And he had a lot of people in that class. There was 25 people every morning coming in and doing the same class. But it's the same with Vikram yoga, for example, or whatever that yoga is.
Bikram.
It's the same class. Yeah, Vikram. Yeah, it's the same class they do all over the world. Nothing changes, and people show up for it.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. No, I appreciate you giving us an insight to that. And when you were there, Sensei, you would have you mentioned that there's foreigners coming in, there's guests coming in. It's all things are happening. When the 100-man kumites were coming in, big events, or they were big event. How were you feeling? Which ones did you participate in while you were there? I remember Xian Judd shared a couple with us that he was in, and how amazing were they, to someone like you? And I've got a teaser at the end of it. Were you ever, I guess, asked, or did you have any of an attempt to do that? Because you supported Judd with his and in Anton's documentary. So kind of had 8 questions there, but yeah, let's see how you go.
It was a couple of questions. First of all, the first 100-man kumite was Akira Masuda.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So he came in to the dojo and started warming up, and he had a big team with him. And then people, black belts started rolling up from all the dojos and stuff. And I think I was injured at that time because I didn't get to fight him, but I stood and hit the drum and was the
cool.
timekeeper.
Yeah.
So, and that's like the best seat in the house.
Yeah, true.
Because I'm standing right there.
Might as well be referee.
Yeah, and so it was amazing because the 100-man kumite is so crazy.
Yeah, good way of putting
it. It is even for someone like me, man. I have never had any desire to do that ever.
Wow.
Ever. It's like it's one of those things that's just like, what? This is just not something I want to do.
Wow.
There are a couple of reasons for that, but yeah. The training that these guys have to do for this, and then like the training they go through, and then like the excruciating, like painful fighting that they then, some of them don't make it,
Yeah.
And I don't think it has made anyone ever a better fighter for doing 100-man kumite.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Wow. There you have it. Yeah.
But again, this is old school. Remember, this is old school, so it's like
early 90s.
Why question it? It's like if I wasn't asked to do it, there's no way I'll do it myself, man. No way.
That's cool. So you the culture and the change to you, being a young lad, Denmark, up and about training, and I guess the rules as such in people understanding, there wasn't that flexibility of going out to clubs or going out to see girlfriends as such, and that's an avenue I wanted for everyone to understand the luxury as such that we have as, going into dojos 2, 3, 4 times a week around, the world compared to what you were doing.
Well, it's kind of like going to karate prison camp, to be honest. I mean, it really is because you're like, it's insane, man. You like the first year you run around with your shaved head and you're just everyone's slave basically.
You said that
Um,
when you signed the contract. You said that, yeah, when you were signing your life away as such, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It was exactly like that because you sign a contract where you said you promise to dedicate yourself to this and not disgrace anyone. And it's just like, okay, now it's really on. It's like it's on for real. But like I said, I mean, Sosai was there, so I mean, I was willing to do pretty much anything to survive in this environment. I was really, really happy to be at Uchi Deschi. This sounds crazy. Like there was really only one time I think where I was like, fuck, I actually kind of feel like this is it, man. I'm like almost willing to throw in the towel, but I was like, but it
Mm,
only lasted a little bit. And then I went over to the dojo that night. It was like internal problems. It wasn't Sosai problem or training problem. It was like because you live with someone like this,
mhm,
that type. Like
mhm.
when I was a first year, there were so many senpais in judge generation that when we all first came in, man, the beds were covering, lapping over each other.
Yeah.
And then like when you have someone like Judd, for example, who's a black belt already and he can like he's stronger than anyone else. So it's like you don't fuck with that guy. So you give him his space, you know? And then it's like so he's got like extra space around his bed. And like everyone else, you know, we're just like, you know, it's shoved in the corner basically. And
Mm,
things like that, man. It's like taking these things, these generally normally speaking human like dignities away from you.
mm,
And then
mm.
also with food, man, like with food, because Sosai told me to gain weight and said, you're going to have to gain 5 kilos, man, because you're too skinny now. And I'm like, oh, so of course I want to do that. So I started trying to eat as much as I could always, right? But then, you know, the senpai come over and they see if they like some of the food that you have on your plate, man, they'll just take it. And it's like, are you kidding me? You're stealing my food now? I mean, yeah, like for example, the tea that we were drinking the first years, but this is something that all the senpais has also gone through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as they become senpais, they know what that feels like, and they're there to punk you, man, all the time. The much they can, the more they can punk you, the better, man. It's like some of those senpais, they thrive on it.
Yeah.
And so taking away these human values
Yeah.
and which and I wrote about this in the book. I think I went over it recently. I said I don't actually think that this is the best way of building someone up, but that's just the old ways of doing
Gotcha.
things. I
Yeah.
think that if you nurture someone um, uh, and mold their mind to accept the hardness of the training and accept the understanding of the fighting mentality and everything, and you train someone right, you could build a machine in a completely different way
Yeah.
without all that bullying.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, no internet, no mobile phones, no laptops, none of that shit, right? And
Yeah.
how were you mentally? You know, you would have had challenging days, weeks, months, or were you, I guess, you know, like I said at the start, you were full steam ahead, or how were you mentally? And share with us,
Uh,
and for those that, you know, excuse me, that have the COVID ISO as such, you know, well, go to another country and sit tight and do what you were doing. So, you know, how'd you go with that?
so I think you have to find some kind of escape
Okay.
for the hardness of that situation, given that you are in. So I turned to books.
Oh, cool.
My mom sent me a lot of books, so she sent me, but this is just fiction books mostly. So I was
Mhm.
just reading a lot of fiction, and yeah, there was some really good book series that I went through, and it's almost like every time you open up a book, you open this completely different world because your mind just
Gotcha.
you dive into this book. So I spent a lot of nights lying down and reading books, and just eventually when I was allowed to read books during the afternoon, if I had nothing else to do, either we were lifting weights or we were standing outside Hombu practicing kicking,
Yeah.
or out on the
Yeah.
street in the doggies. We thought it was super cool. There's this glass door in front of Hombu that you could see yourself in, the reflection, and we were
Yes.
always practicing kicks
Yes.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, if that wasn't happening, I'd be lying there and then reading a book or trying to write a diary. At one point, I started writing a
Okay.
Japanese diary that Sosai would stamp and stuff like that, which was just help me, get better at Japanese.
Oh, cool. So
I felt it's
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I felt it's super important
That.
to be integrated and to be accepted as an uchideshi and eventually be called a senpai and a sensei in
Sure.
Japanese in Japan by the Japanese. I think that was one of the bigger missions for me to accomplish. And if I have to do that, I needed to be able to speak to people in Japanese so I could understand why they react to things the way they did. So I studied a lot of Japanese on my own, and I also started writing a diary in Japanese, a very short one, but a little bit, and then I read a lot of books, and this combination of keeping my mind working on something, not just the body,
Yeah.
for me, it worked out pretty well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. That's great to know, and I'm sure that motivates a lot of us. That's just motivated me because I've got an app and I'm still shit, you know. And my daughter and I try. You know, my daughter's learning it as well, and she's 7 years old, and we've got an app and we're working together. And I'm like, why aren't we committing to this? It's such, and we teach it, 20 years. But anyway,
Yeah.
so
What is the app? A Japanese language app?
Busu, Busuu for everyone out there. It's different languages. So I speak Spanish, so I can teach Spanish, speak Spanish, and then it's like, well,
Right.
now I want to do Japanese. But for someone like yourself, there's a clip of you on YouTube. There's many that, and I think you're in your third year, and it's just boom. You're teaching the students as if it's, that was fantastic. Again, it motivated me to go, right. You got to lift your game a little bit here, But
there's an app called Duolingo that I tried to learn Italian on for a while.
Yeah.
And it's like it's games. You take 5 minutes a day or 7 minutes a day, and then you just do it, man. It's
fun. No, that's right. No, that's it. That's what I'm doing. Sensei, how is the nightlife for a young lad? Just how'd you? I know Xian Judd has had his moments and so forth, but for yourself, how did you get through that?
Well, so the first year it is non-existent.
Right.
Like it is not happening. Like the first time, it's kind of cool actually, because there are 3 days, January 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, where everyone gets to go home, except people like Judd and I. We can't afford to go home, so we're stuck, right? But then we had like 3 days where we're like, "Hey, dude, man, we'll take you out." And it's like, "What? You're gonna take me out?" I was like, "Yeah." By this time, we've gotten really like friendly with each other. I'd also gotten a lot bigger, a lot stronger, and
cool.
So it was kind of cool. And so we went out, obviously, during New Year's Eve break. Sosai wasn't even at the dojo. It was just us, in the dorm, like, and all the Japanese were going home and to visit their parents' places and stuff. So we're like, screw it, we're going out. So the first time I got to go out was that time, that one night on New Year's Eve. And then as a second year, you get these breaks like once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending on how big your team is. Yeah. My team was very small because all my peers had all left except one Japanese guy. Yeah, so it was just one Japanese guy, Mahashi-san, and then me in my year. So we had to like take care of a lot of tasks. Whereas in, for example, Judd's generation, there was like 8 or 9 of them. And so the tasks were like, split up over. So they got more holidays basically.
Oh man. Yeah.
So the first 2 years was, it was kind of weird, and then you become a third year and then you could take time off if you want, and you go out and stuff like this if you want, but then you don't have any money, you end up just walking around in Ikebukuro going, what we used to do, we used to take a walk down Ikebukuro down to the big department stores, because they have these samples of food and stuff, right? Yep. So you could go around and sample food, right? And this is what we did. That's how we would get candy. Oh, there's free samples. Oh, what do you eat? This car, and then we'd like just walk around the whole department stores and eat as much as we could. This was our holidays. Mostly. But the truth is also, I write this about this in the book, but I found a girlfriend that was very forgiving for me in Japan in the third year, I think. And I had to break it off with her. It was a very short affair because I was so focused on becoming stronger that it's like, I literally didn't have time for her. But she was very sweet.
You segued nicely. Third year, let's deep dive here. So you're nearly there, were you seeing it in that manner? Were you hearing, your colleagues as such, your friends and family from overseas, was what was it? Where were you starting to visualize yourself? Was it the fact that, Judd had finished and then you're next as such? And, were you competing in year 3 as well? Or were you just away you go? Yeah.
Yeah. I fought in the, oh wait, no. When was that? I got to go back and read it in the book. I think I went to the All Japan heavyweight championships. It was either that year or the following year. Yeah. But I knew I fought in the All Japan, and because I fought Tamada in the first round and went 2 extensions with him, and then I broke a leg. I broke another leg in a tournament. Yeah, so nuts. Yeah. But I was fighting and I was training. So that was the main reason for breaking it off with that girlfriend that I was seeing there for a while. When I say seeing for a while, we've probably seen maybe 4 or 5 times because like once a month, right? So it's like, and then it's like, there was no cell phones, there's no emails or anything. So it's like, really, how do you have a relationship like that? I got to call her up, in her parents, cell phone that her mom is picking up, and you're like, Nichols desu kedo, nani san imasu ka? And then like sometimes the dad would pick up and it's like, nah, we're not talking to her. So, but so it was a complicated thing, and I kind of regret that I broke it off with her. But at the same time, it was like I had to dedicate everything to myself, and this is what I wanted to do. So training for the All Japan was really more important to me than having a girl. So
yeah, and and that's what I alluded to the flying because that's keeping you busy. You know, you're lifting, you're eating, you're working out, you're just and again
yeah.
you're going nuts.
Yeah. To go into the sorry, I don't know what you asked. Uh, there was never a doubt that I was gonna finish or not.
Right.
There was never a question.
Yeah.
Like by the time I became a third year, my mom literally said, "Now you can't come home."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's it. Now you can't come home. I know, like, no, mom, I'm loving it. I'm speaking Japanese. I'm getting stronger. I'm competing, you know, and Sosai is getting all excited about it. I'm excited to please Sosai. The last year, Sosai was getting very tired and very sick.
Sure.
His condition was really deteriorating a lot, and I would be running the Uchi Deschi class. From the footage that you saw, this was basically what I would do. I would run up to Sosai's office and say, "Oh, we're about to start the class," and he'd go ahead and run it, and then he could hear it. And then sometimes he would come down and just check it out for 5 or 10 minutes, and then he'd go like, "Yeah, Nick knows what he's doing."
Nice,
okay,
man.
And I was hard on those Uchi Deschi. I was proud to be able to like lead a class instead of Sosai, because you know I as a yellow belt, you know, he came in one morning, he got angry at me because I wasn't in the black belt class.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm a yellow belt. Wow, bummer, eh? And then, so anyway, and that's like 3 months after I got to Japan, I got the yellow belt. And then, so ever since that, I was in all the black belt classes with all the Sosai classes. And it was like more than 2 years of four classes a week with Sosai. Yeah, man, it was really an honor to be able to do that. And so in the end, at the last year, it was just simply getting as strong as I wanted, man. It was so hard because I didn't want to leave Japan when I was finishing. Yeah. It was you know, you get you get to the graduation day, right? You put on the suit, you know, you're a bit nervous, you know, and you know, Sosai was in a hospital at the time, but he came in from the hospital in his car, and you know, he was full of power. Like this was the Sosai. He was so proud. He shed a little tear as we were being called up, and as in being you know, graduates from the Uchi Deschi program, and then it's done. You get the certificate, and then suddenly it's like, this is your whole life, my whole life, for those past 4 years. 1 year before going to Japan, because I saved up money, and this is the whole goal, the 4 years of my life, and there I am. It's like, well, you can go home now.
Wow.
And then so yeah, I mean, what do you do, right? So I didn't want to go home.
No,
I really didn't want to go home. So I was super fortunate because we had the last dinner with Sosai that Saturday. He came in from the hospital to have dinner with us also.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then he asked me, he said, "So what are you going to do?" And Sosai didn't want me to leave. And I said, "Well, you know, I borrowed some money to stay there in Japan from Sosai. I ended up borrowing some money because most of the money that my mom sent over, I ended up spending on food and protein powder and stuff because I needed to get big and strong."
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So, sorry, mom. But so, yes, but she knew about it. But so I borrowed some money from Sosai back then.
Of course.
And he was okay with that. And he's like, "Well, I want to pay off the money, but once I pay off, when I go back home and get a job and pay off the money, I'll come back and train more, and maybe help, maybe work at home doing stuff like that." And he was like, "You know, I want to offer you a job as a sensei at the dojo, as a teacher at the dojo, to run the classes, and I'll give you a salary, and you can stay here in the dorm." He wanted me to become Japanese champion.
Wow, man. Shit.
Yeah.
That bit got me then. Yeah. So that's tough, isn't it? I think out of all of it, out of reading it back and forth, I totally forgot about you had to go home like that to me, because you've been there for so long, and done, you know, it's your whole life now, and your families and so forth. And I totally didn't even comprehend that bit where you go, off you go, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And you're like, no.
Yeah, I didn't. I said, yeah, man. So I was like super happy, and so many things happened. There's a very tumultuous point in my life, because at that time, obviously, I went home because my visa had run out, and then how do you get back to this, right? And so I'm home in Denmark. I'm there for 3 weeks, and I was drafted for the army in Denmark. So I was supposed to do a 1 year in the army. And I don't know how I got out of this. I had a hernia at the time.
Okay.
No, wait. Let me get this right. What happened is I went to, because I had to do the draft for the army. I picked the number, and it's like, okay, you have to start next year in April as an army whatever guy. You know, we got to come to the army. And then Yeah, cadet. Yeah. And I was like, shit, because my brother, he blew a free number. It's like, if it's anything under 25,000, that's how many they need every year. Anything under that, then you're in. And I got like 17,816 or something. So I was completely like stuck in this thing. I didn't want to. I just wanted to go back to Japan and train. So yeah, the timing was really strange. So I got that, but I'd already planned on going back to Japan. I already bought a ticket to go back on a tourist visa, 90 days. So, and then my Shihan calls me up and says, Sosai just passed away. And I'm like, no way. Like, sorry, man.
No, man, I hear. I saw you get emotional with it last time, and mate, I'll jump in for a second. I'll jump in for a second, man. Of course, mate. You made the whole world cry. And I tell you what, when we last saw you do it, because he was such a big figure to you and to so many, and he, to someone like me that never met him and so forth. He's in the dojo, and we bow to him every day to thank him, and it's such a big thing for so many of us, Sensei. And sorry you got to that point, but and so
I'm okay with it, man. I'm okay with it. I'm okay.
Yeah, but it's a sad moment.
And so he passed away, and I'm like, so I made it. I was flying back like that next day to
really?
Japan.
Okay.
And so I went to the funeral and everything, and it was just so bizarre. I just remember everyone wanting to, get together and like, in Japan, people celebrate people's lives, and so they get together and they get really drunk and then they cry together after and stuff like that. And so their timing for crying is a little bit different. But the only thing I wanted to do was train, man. I was like, why are we not in the dojo right now doing my kyages in honor of Sosai? And why are we getting drunk here? I didn't want to get drunk. I just wanted to crush something,
Sure. Yeah.
And then my first conversation through the secretary the next day after the funeral was, I need you to pay back the money that you owe to Hombu.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. Yeah.
And I'm like, so this is Matsui Kanjo telling his secretary to tell me that I need to pay him back now. Like, I need all that money back right now. And I'm like, well, I came back to Japan because Sosai hired me to be a teacher so I could pay it off.
That way.
And he's like, I haven't fucking heard this story. I don't know. What are you coming up with this, And it took them a while to clarify this, but there was some, other people had heard this conversation, and there were no real details or contracts or anything. Sosai wasn't that kind of guy.
No.
So, but they figured it out, and he said then the deal was that I had to live and stay in the dormitory until the money was paid off, and it was about $8,000. So what I did was I got a job with one of my senpais. I'm moving construction materials in the mornings, and then teaching karate at night, and also teaching the Uchi Deschi. And so I paid it off in 7 months.
Good on you, man. Yeah. What a tough situation. Bugger me. Yeah. Insane. And so you used your 90, and then again, let's can I just give everyone a bit of perspective here? Have a think of what Sensei Nichols is going through here. In like then, and starting to grasp at such a young age, and having the God, Mas Oyama there, giving him the vision of what's next for you and for what's ahead, and then it being pretty much cut off because of X, Y, and Z. So you again, you're not 30, you're not 33, you're 20, you're 21, 22.
21 or 21. Yeah.
Unreal.
But yes, I mean, Sosai passes away, and everything gets very, very strange, obviously. So this is in 1994. And so the World Championships is in 1995, and I wanted to fight in the World Championships for real. I wanted to make Sosai super proud. And to qualify for it, I had to go back to Denmark. Now, this is the crazy thing here. This is the story that's going to go back to me, because I had to go back to Denmark anyway, because I had to go and be a cadet in the army.
Sure. But you got that on you, and you got that on your plate too. Fucking.
Yeah. And so, my training was going really well in Japan at the time. I was with a really strong team at Hombu training, and we'd gotten really like tight. All this race systems that I went back to in the beginning of the podcast and talked about. I mean, this has completely disappeared. I'm completely looked upon as one of their own. I'm integrated in the system, and everyone, all the foreigners they now come to Hombu and are at Hombu. They were all changed. One of the big things that I changed at Hombu. So my training is going well. I go back to Denmark to to compete in the Danish tournament to qualify for the World Championships. And then I'd already bought a ticket out of Denmark on a Thursday. I've been going in and out of Japan on a tourist visa for about a year now. Because I couldn't get a visa. You're a black belt. You can't get a visa on a black belt. What are you doing? Do you have any education? Just 3 years of Uchi Deschi. Okay, we can't get a visa on that because that expired. You only got three years on that thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going back and forth. And then I bought a ticket to go back to Japan on that Thursday afternoon. And then during training, because I stayed in Denmark for about a month and trained with my Danish senpai to train for the European, not for the Danish Championships. But so this is what happened. I went back to Denmark and then they canceled the Danish Championships and said, hey, but we have the European Championships in like a month. This is what happened exactly. Yeah. And then so we were flying down to Romania. And I was going to go from Romania back to Denmark, regardless if what that military thing was going to do. I was literally going to run away from the military. And then on one of the first weeks of training in Denmark with my senpai, we were like, yeah, this is how we do it in Japan, So after all this pad work and all the sparring and everything, we took everyone out. I took everyone outside, and then we wanted to do sprints and stuff outside, to finish off the fighting squad's session with. On the first sprint that I do outside, I tear a muscle in my groin, and it's a hernia. Yeah, so I'm now in Denmark, and it's my first chance to get into the World Championships to qualify for it. And the Danish tournament is gone, and I'm now preparing for this European Championships, and I'm trying to get out of the army. And so I get this hernia, it's a blessing. And at the same time, it's the worst thing that can happen. So anyway, I go up to the Danish doctor and I say, look, we're going to have to, I have this pain down here, right?
Yeah.
The doctor goes, I take some x-rays and says this and that, And then I said, look, man, I don't think I can go to the army with this. I mean, do you think there's something you can do? And he's like, I think you're right. I'm going to write a letter and tell the army that you are actually not fit for duty. And so, so I get a call that Wednesday, right? I'm flying out Thursday regardless. I was supposed to be in the army Friday morning, by the way. So on Wednesday, I get the call, right? This is like crazy story. I'm on my way down to the European Championship, right? I'm still training like this as a madman, right? And it says, the Danish army said, you don't have to come in and show up for duty. We can't use you. You're like,
you're a hack.
Amazing, right? So I go down and I knock everyone out and become the European Championship of the achievement champion in 1995. And so happy days. And then I ended up going to the World Championships that year. Yeah, that was some good times though.
Hey, well done.
This was when it was still fun, because I was getting stronger and I was getting an incredible result, man. Winning the European Championships on my mother's birthday, that was just like insane. Going into the World Championships and suddenly this whole community of Kyokushin fans are like, they know me. Yeah. Suddenly they know this kid, man. And I'm like, wow, 22 years old, placing 5th in the world. Are you kidding me? I was like flying high, man.
And you look fantastic, just quite, to be honest. And we've gone an hour in, and I appreciate your time so much. And I don't want to go too far with this and push your limit, but one of the big things that I admired you with and watched as a fighter as well was your movement and the way you moved, and more so for everyone, go watch how Sensei explains the fight against Globe, because that's that. How did you adapt, evolve? Like you said, so I didn't show you the glitz and glamour as such, but there was something there, man, that you were like, hey, I know how to move this way, move that way, and your footwork and your gi downs was your, would you say that was your absolute, specialty as such? What'd you do to do all that? How'd you go with that? Did you just bust your bum and work hard, or someone show you any of this stuff? What was it?
I know I came up with all my my technique myself.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you look at someone who's strong, or you look at someone who does something specifically well, and then you kind of steal it if you can.
Of course.
Like, for example, I saw Judd fight this really tall senpai we used to call the barber one time in the dojo, right? And he just laid it into him. Like, man, we're talking like a head difference in height. And it's like, so Jesus, like, and I'm like, I never really saw anyone fight someone in Kyokushin like that was taller than themselves that ferociously. And I thought, okay, I could take that. So I stole that. And I thought, and then that made me not afraid of fighting taller people, generally speaking. But that I don't like fighting taller people, because I told you that in the fight against Globe, I don't like fighting taller people. But there's a way to do it that they also don't like fighting small people. but footwork wise, it's a combination of everything. It's a combination of the summer camp with Michael Thompson,
Okay.
because he was a mover. He had this fluid movement that we spent that 5-6 days on the camp on learning. So when I went to Japan, I wanted to move like him. I wanted to fight like him, because I thought it was so graceful, and it came very natural to me. And then in Japan, you can't move like that in the dojo. You can't, because there's just not enough space in the dojo, right? So then you come up with this other stuff, right? Then I look a bit at how, Kazumi was started to fight, how they had incorporated this movement where it's like back and forth and attacking more on a defense, right? And I kind of like that. And I was like, it's kind of stealing a bit of that movement pattern. But it becomes a mix of everything, where I just trained myself in a way that it felt natural for me. There are some clips of me doing a heavy bag work down in the basement of Hombu, where people probably get a good idea for how I watch that now and I go, fuck, I move well. But I used to do a lot of bag work. But I don't do bag work like I see other people do bag work. I use the bag to move, like around it in circles and in and out. And like sometimes I'll do specific drills where I'm pushing the bag and cutting edges and
then
stuff
45s.
Yeah. But that's also just a product of not having good, not always having good training partners, because I think this is going to sound strange. As good as I was on the bag, I think that you could get 1,000 times better results with just one good sparring partner, someone that you could do drills with.
I see. Yeah.
And I did a lot of drills, a lot of drills. I had a whole 30-minute, 1 minute on. I think it was 1 minute on, 1 minute off, or it's 1 minute on, 30 seconds off, where there was like 15 or 20 drills that were specifically for all these different footworks and counters and attacks and stuff like that. It was just part of like a warm up. This is what you have to do in my specific training when I pulled in my kohai and trained with them.
Yeah. I get you. Hey, that's good to share. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's what I was trying to tap into a little bit there. That's a cool thing I might try, actually. Yeah, 1 minute on, 30 seconds off, but of something, 15 to 20, and then away you go, and it's just continuous, isn't it? It's got a boom, and reaction time and distance and move, and that's the thing. What you're saying with a training partner than a bag, more so I call it distance management. You're seeing what's going on together, aren't you? Rather than the bag just. I can go and lift them up. Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Sensei.
Or you could do 1 minute on, 1 minute off, because if you have someone that you've been doing it for a while, so let's say the drill is he's gonna kick a right middle kick, the Chuda Mashigiri, and then you have 2 to 3 options for how you're gonna go with it. You're gonna go into it, or you're gonna what I'm saying, pull out and then counterattack it. So you have some options you can do with this middle kick, right? But that all he does for that first minute, that's all he does. But Maigiri or Mashiri, right? No, let's say it's a Mashiri. Whatever you choose, because you can choose for all the techniques, right? But whatever he does, you have to make sure that when he does it, that he tries to kick you. He's not just throwing it; he has to try and hit you.
Yeah.
And then whatever you do has to be as real, except for your counterattack. You can slow down on that, but you have to be real. Yeah. So you could do like 1 minute on and off and switch back and forth like that.
Yeah.
I did a lot of this.
Yeah.
That's
great. No, that's cool. Sensei, see what happens. It's an hour and a bit already, and there was a part of this, and with respect to Scott's interview and so forth, with everyone else out there, Nick's journey from here is another movie, book, and so forth. But the biggest thing for me, and I appreciate it, and I shared it with you at the start, was this, because when I got it, I read it in 8 minutes straight, and then I spoke to everyone about it, and everyone looked at me like, yeah, okay, mate, take it easy. And I was like, no, you don't understand what the fuck's going on here. So well done on all of it. Again, I appreciate your time so much. A lot of us here in Australia, you got a lot of friends. The Chief Peter Graham sends his regards. I know Shian Judd passes on his regards. Shian Cameron Quinn passes on his regards. Shian Billy Pollock. Yeah. Everyone that I said that I was getting on was like, please pass on our regards. And we were nearly fortunate to get you in Australia, correct? And I don't know if you want to end our chat here with the opportunity that you were potentially going to have in running a dojo in Oz. But the floor is yours here for the next 5 or so minutes, however you want. And I just wanted to just share.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would like to say thank you for having me on the podcast, and thank you for helping, promote the audio book that I'm coming out with, which is, it's all going to be free.
Amazing.
Yeah, and there's so many friends, you know, so many relationships. People probably don't understand because I get like friend requests on Facebook daily from people somewhere calling me Uchi and say, Uchi-han, you know, can we be friends? I have questions for you. And I'm always friendly to people, but I don't accept friend requests on Facebook because if we haven't shared time, you can follow me on Facebook. If you can follow me on Instagram, or you can watch the Tokyo show and see what's going on. But I try to keep what I have as friends on Facebook, are actually people I know and interact with, like in a friendly way. Like, and it's not because I'm not friendly. It's just like I capped it at 5,000 like within the first year I opened up Facebook, and then it's like, well, we can't be friends. And how do you, so then you go through the list at one point, and you delete all these friends, and I ended up deleting 4,000 friends because I haven't interacted with these people, you know, ever. They're just fans, you know. And then so then they added the feature where you can follow someone, and I think it's really cool, which is all good. I'm very honored, and I love. I always love karate. I mean, I don't practice it or teach it right now, but this quarantine opened up for this portal where I said, you know what, I think I've hidden it away for long enough now. And it's not because I wanted specifically to hide it, but there was so much politics in the way that I was involved with martial arts, not just karate, but kickboxing too. And I had enough, and I'd lost everything, and I'd had to reinvent myself. And so I was very fortunate to find something called CrossFit, where I now have a business that is, I mean, I would say successful, but I mean, we've been close to 2.5 months. Thank God for being able to open up on Monday, right? All the bills are paid, you know, the staff is coming back, and the most of the members are probably going to come back, and then we just we carry on as usual, you know. And then the idea for this is for me this time is not just to come up with the audio book, but make the Tokyo show a real thing, and also be able to go out and maybe teach on camps. And I know when I say this, I'm going to get a lot of attention for this, and but just understand that I have a business that is, you know, that's my main business. And that means that I can't take time off, because I get invited to camps every year and I turn them down all the time. And it's not because I don't want to teach. It's just because I simply haven't had the time to do that. So my goal over the next 12 months is obviously, you know, to try and stay healthy and stay strong and be inspiring to people in any kind of way of life, you know, not just martial arts, but also, you know, CrossFit and fitness in general, you know. Make healthy choices and everything.
No, your show's fantastic, and thank you so much for your time. So for everyone, let's just do a sub on that. So the Tokyo show, jump on the YouTube channel. It's unreal. It's just following Sensei around and Nichols around, and it's just, and it's more so if you've been to Japan and if you're going to head there, now you know. It's very, very cool. And then also, his your BoxFit side, and you show a lot of people, and you're helping so many around the world with just some tips, some tricks, and you know, basic etiquette in training, and just getting off our asses, and you know, your stretching routine on your balcony. I was like, shit, what's going on here? And you were live, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then my daughter's 11 months, and she's rolling around, and I'm like, my wife's there, and when she's walking, she said, what's going on? I said, yeah, it's just Sensei stretching, so I'm stretching with him, man. So I was in.
Awesome.
We're only an hour difference, like I said. You know, it's 3. You know, so for everyone out there, there's some avenues there, and like you said, your Facebook channels are such. But thank you so much. What an amazing chat. I really appreciate it. It was an honor talking to you. You're such a high-profile figure with Kyokushin around the world, more so in Australia as well. We love you, and keep up the awesome work. And if we see you in Oz one time, fantastic. If not, all the best. Thank you so much.
I guarantee I'll be down there sometime soon.
Fantastic. Good to hear.
Os.
Big Os, thank you so much.
Os.